everybody, welcome back to Kruse Control. It is Monday, April 3rd, 2023. This is episode 51 of Kruse Control, the home of entertainment news. I am your host, Brian Kruse. Thank you for being here again. As always, happy Monday, everybody. We're back to kick some ass on a Monday, and welcome back, Lexi Covill, to Kruse Control. How you doing, Lexi?
Hi, I'm back. It's me.
How you been?
I'm all right. I'm good. Things have been going all right for me.
How's your podcast going?
We just talked about Herschel Gordon Lewis for our Grindhouse, and we had Jacob on, so
nice.
That's going to be good. That doesn't come out until the end of this week, so tune in for that. So yeah, things are going good.
Awesome. I'm happy it's going well. It's great to have you back here. Cinema D'Amore, everybody. Check it out. Also joining us back for the second time here on Kruse Control is Mr. Sean Sutherland. Sean, welcome back to Kruse Control. How you doing tonight?
Yeah. I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be back. Lexi, lovely to meet you. And just excited to get going again and get into the Kruse Control zone.
Well, welcome to my danger zone. I love Tom Cruise. Come on, just a little bit of Tom Cruise, Not because our names are close, but when I worked on Top Gun Maverick, all the sound departments like, you tell Tommy spelling his last name wrong. I'm like, I'm not gonna say that shit to Tom Cruise. He just probably whooped my ass. That man, he's got a lot. He's like a fireball, a firecracker.
I absolutely would, no question. Not even a hesitation. I'd be like, absolutely, it's wrong.
It could be a good story. It could be a good story. Well, speaking of stories, now it's time for some breaking news. All right, everybody, we're diving right in. The very first thing I want to talk about tonight is Blue Bloods. Now, not a big fan of Blue Bloods, but the fact that it's been on for like 13 seasons and now they just negotiated a 14th season, like, good for them. But this is one of the last ones that the network didn't announce because they were going through contract negotiations. Apparently, they made them cut. So CBS pushed for significant budget cuts, including 25% off the above the line talent. So the actors took cuts. Everybody took cuts. And the idea was they really wanted to keep the production for all the hundreds of jobs. And so they said, okay, we'll take pay cuts in order to keep this show going, which is huge. A lot of actors don't do that. It just doesn't happen. It's a huge cop drama. And like I said, 14 network's huge for CBS. So good for them. I mean, the fact that I'm surprised the actors took cuts though, right? Like that seems like one of those things that doesn't usually happen. It seems like they're the first thing they'd be like, no, let's just not do it. but they were like, hey, let's make this happen. We're gonna keep this show going.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine after 13 seasons what else is left to tell, in that story. Tom Selleck still rocking the mustache. So
yep, rocking that gray mustache
now. Maybe it's lucky number 14. I don't know. We shall see. But yeah, you don't hear that often. I think you hear a lot of, obviously strikes and all the kind of budget negotiations, but you never hear any kind of top line like that. Just across the board, we have to do it. Obviously, they were able to make it work.
It's great when it happens. It is great. Like, I've heard of like actors doing that just to make a movie. If they're going to make the movie, they're like, okay, my normal rate's this, but I'll do a cut because, well, I want to do this so bad. Give me some producer credits, back end points. But this is like one of those things where it's just like, just keep our show going. So kudos to them. They care about their crew. They care about the show, and they were able to make a deal happen. So surprised. Are you surprised, Lexi?
I mean, it's cool of them. I don't really care too much about the show. So
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like I guess like you said, like, nice of them to work for their crew and keep their jobs and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, it's nice to see anybody fight for anything, whether it's, a job like that or a corporation or anything like that. It's just nice to see people fight for keeping people working. But do we need another season of that show? No.
No, I don't think so either. CBS can't get enough of it though, too. So I mean, I'm
Tom
happy.
Selleck, Donnie Wahlberg. I mean, what else do you need?
But I mean, like, how many seasons of like what Law and Order are there?
Dung. A million.
Yeah, I don't know.
1,000,005.
I don't know.
They don't need any more any of this stuff, if you ask me. Like, it is what it is. People like their cop dramas.
Well, that's happening again. They're doing more of that. Something that's going away is Grownish. So Grownish is going away after their 6th season, everybody. So there have been some changes. It's on Freeform now. So the episodes for the 6th season are debuting this summer. Season 6 will air in 2 parts, with the first half premiering this summer, and then the second half, 6B, will air later in 2024. So there's been a regime change at Freeform. A lot of the higher up people have changed. So they're saying, well, is that the reason why? And they're saying, no, it's not. It's been a decision to end Grownish. It was a creative one. It wasn't impacted by the leadership change at all. I mean, this show started in 2018. I'm surprised they've got 6 seasons already in that amount of time. They were pumping these things out, right? I was like, Grownish had 6, but yeah, and it's a spinoff of Blackish, we know. So it's like you would just, that show's been going forever too. So I mean, 6 seasons. They should be really happy they got that. Spinoffs don't get that all the time too. Spinoffs don't always work.
Yeah, and especially getting to that 100 episode milestone with this last season. I mean, that's rare nowadays. And
super rare.
To be able to say that they got this far. My wife is a huge fan of that show. So I'm not surprised. Freeform, they're doing the little engine that could a little bit. They definitely have their market kind of teed in, and I think the big switch between the focus of the sister to the brother was also a creative, kind of a big shift for the show, and it survived that for at least 1 season. To be able to end things on your terms, again, I think that's great for the creators.
Yeah, and again, we said in the show a lot of times, it doesn't happen that way. It's like people get a show going and they have an idea where they're going to go and they have an ending planned and then it never happens. So the fact they're saying this was their planned ending, it's their creative choice, that it was all kind of worked out, and it's great. It's great then. If that's what you wanted and it worked out for you, awesome, Because again, shows get canceled after like 2 seasons, especially spinoffs. They just don't get the love that they normally get from the original show. They just, don't hit sometimes. So it's, I'm happy if your wife was a fan that she got a chance to see it for 6 seasons, though. So hopefully she gets a fulfilling ending at the very ending, Well, it sounds like she will.
So.
It sounds like she will. Yeah. But what do you think, Lexi? Is this a good thing? What do you think? Do you think it's a good thing?
I never heard of it.
For the Lexi take, here we go.
I never heard of it. Like you said, when spin-offs get, multiple seasons out of them, it's nice to see it happen.
It's really nice.
Kind of like, when with A Different World, when the from Cosby got the...
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like
They're
that.
able.
So,
and this was
seems like it's very
thing.
similar in that sort of, like, realm of that, so...
I think I know a show that you have heard of, though, Lexi. And that is House of the Dragon.
Yes, I have heard of this one.
House of the Dragon, everybody. The prequel series to Game of Thrones about the Targaryen family is coming back for season 2. Of course it is. We knew that already. But now they're talking about the season count for the episodes. And originally they said it was going to be 10 episodes. But now they're saying it's only going to be 8 episodes. And it's based off of the actual storyline. It's story-driven. And that this is planned this way. As they were breaking it down and writing the scripts, they said it just made more sense to be 8 episodes. It's going to start shooting, though. They're going to start shooting very soon. And coming up, hopefully, summer of 2024. We'll see. Like I said, spring, they're probably going to start shooting. This show takes forever, actually, to put on. So the fact that, it's 8 episodes is weird to me, but that it kind of made me a little nervous. There's talk going around how many seasons are going to last. Apparently, HBO's already mulling around. They're like, how many seasons will do a season 3? Because ideally, they do 3 or 4 seasons, but they haven't even decided if they're going to go beyond 2. Now you're cutting the episodes short with only 8. That makes me worry a little bit about it, even though it was a big hit. So why would you stop? They want to expand on this universe, and there's the Jon Snow show is supposed to still be coming too, but there's been no word about that lately. So I'm like, do you think that would have happened before this? But it just didn't. So, Lexi, do you see kind of any worry here with it going on to 8 episodes, or do you think that it's okay? It is just story. It's fine.
I don't know. I've been talking about this for a while as far as like any TV show. I get tired of getting like my first season being like 13 episodes and then my second season being like 8 episodes. And it's like, what's my next season going to be, like 6 episodes? And it's like, I know British television has been giving us like 6 season formats like that for years, but I'm not watching British television. And it's like, I know I can say like, well, but if I've been watching things in a format, like I'm okay with 13 episodes, like I can deal with 13 episodes, but like, I don't know how I feel about this drop down to 8. 8 feels like a weird number. There's like an inconsistency to it. I'll even give you 10. I feel like 10's more of a round number too. Like when I get like 10 episodes out of a season or something like that. Like Rick and Morty, like when Rick and Morty's dropped down to like 10 episodes a season too, like that felt like it needed more. Like 13 felt like a nice round number with stuff. So I don't know. It feels a little bit more satisfying when you get like 13 episodes, whereas 8 feels like you just wanted a few
Just
more
not
bites.
Enough.
You just wanted like
Just
a
not
couple
enough.
more bites, like you know, like Last of Us. Like if we had like, I think we got that final bite we needed. If that had been 8 episodes, I would have been very unsatisfied. Like I needed just a little bit more. So like, depending on how they feed it to us and how it's done, we can work with that. I guess I'm not someone watching this, but I'm just like you're talking like just on that pure formatting alone. Like I think it's. You know, like I know we grew up in a time period where like 25 episodes was like the standard of what you wanted for like a season.
I mean, yeah.
And but like you know, smaller formatting too on television. Like usually, like long format television wasn't as common. So like hour-long TV show formats were not as common. You got more half-hour television show formats. Now there's a lot more long format television shows. So you can give me like shorter episode seasons because like I don't need as many 25 episode seasons of like an hour long format. I can definitely work with, like I said, 13, but like you got to give me at least 13. You got to give me like 12 or 13 or something like that. Like I don't know.
It's this trend though. It's been happening though. It's like 8,
Well,
6. You know what I mean? It's happening more and more.
What is this shit with like? I'm really tired of like getting a season and then waiting 3 fucking years for my next season, and then you come back with the next season and you give me like a handful, and that's
like, what have you been doing?
It's like it's like you give me 8 episodes this time around. It's like, okay, whoa, I got 13 last year, and like that was 3 years ago, and now you've like reached in your pocket and given me 8. And it's like, that's unsatisfactory for me. Like, when you make me wait so long in between these things, if you're at least able to give me, like, a season a year, like how TV used to be.
I know. I miss it that way.
Yearly seasons of television, then I can at least accept smaller format televisions. Fine, you want to give me 8 episodes? You give me a year. Every year, I want 8 episodes. At least then I'm getting a consistent amount of television. Because, like, if you're gonna screw me around with this like 2 and 3 year format television, like Better Call Saul, how many fucking years did I have to wait to finish out that season? And then I finally had to go to European Netflix to be able to watch season flicks because you didn't want to give me season 6 because you wanted to be stingy with it. Like, stop being stingy with giving us access to those final seasons of these like premiere shows too. Like, don't make it so hard to access the final season of things, or like make it so hard to get these things. So it's like I waited 5 years to finish Better Call Saul. Why? Like, I'm just using that as an example. Like, well, why is that okay? Are you going to do that with me and then give me 8 episodes? Like, I can't.
It's a big
wait
FU sometimes.
5 years for 8 episodes of television, and then you expect me to remember what the fuck happened between those 5 years of me watching this show and stuff.
Don't worry, we'll give you a big long breakdown.
Right.
Like previously on.
Yeah, previously on, you got to watch like an hour previously on because
3 years ago.
So I don't want to harp on this, but like that, I don't know. Like, I just feel like they're just shafting us more and more every year on television, and formatting just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And so it's like, I think with some things we've got to pick up and give us a little bit more. I think like with animation and stuff like that, shorter format television, like bare minimum 13 episodes. I don't want any more of this like 10 or 8 episode shit for like 30-minute television shows. If you're giving us long format shows, like these hour-long shows, 10 episodes. Like,
that's why I was disappointed when I heard this, too, because I'm like, this show warrants more episodes, you know?
And I'll let the Last of Us go, because some of those episodes were an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And if you're going to give me hour and a half, if you're giving me movies for episodes of television,
it's a different story.
Then I'll let you give me 8 episodes, because I got 8 movies for a season. Like you know, what was it, Stranger Things? Like every one episodes of those Stranger Thing episodes this season were an hour, like 2 hours long. I'm like, those are movies. I'm like, that's a little different. Like,
different
I can
story.
Let stuff slide. Those are mini series or shit like that. I'm like, that's not a season of television. Like, it is what it is. So if like 45 minutes, fucking around. Like, you give me
I know.
one of those.
Hopefully it's not like that. Hopefully hopefully it's not like that. It just makes me be like, why are you doing this? Then they say it's creative. I don't know if I believe that. It's money probably. That the show is so freaking expensive. They're like, well, we got to cut down to 8 because we can't deal with it, right? What do you think, Sean? Do you think this is money?
I think it's money. I think it's also the HBO top brass kind of lukewarm reception to season 1 and just kind of assuming like, hey, we can't put all of our eggs in the Game of Thrones basket anymore. Something else is going to happen. Last of Us was a huge hit, obviously, and to be able to do what they did with the number of episodes, maybe they're trying to say, hey, look, this show did that. Why can't you do it?
Yeah, make it happen.
I think for a franchise like Game of Thrones, I completely agree with you. More is better because there's just larger worlds, more involved kind of systems that have to be explored and discussed. And without that, something's going to get shortchanged. Character's going to get the X, Y, Z.
What a poor investment on HBO's behalf to begin with when you had such a poor reception to your finale. Like, that show was like just cranking money. The IP machine was like on fire. I couldn't go anywhere and not see like, IPs of anything, literally anything with like Game of Thrones on it. And when that finale happened, I went out in the world and it was a ghost town. I didn't see like anything with Game of Thrones on it at all. And then you were like, well, we've got a new show for you. And I'm like, yeah, you expect that to make you any money? You expect people to watch that like after giving one of television's most historically disappointing finales? Like, I don't think you're gonna succeed with this. So
yeah,
hope you don't have like high expectations. Sure. Like, I would say like expect like the hardcore fans to be dedicated to that, and don't invest too much into it, and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I like the prequel series. I thought it was good, but it was a little bit all over the place too with the time. It's like all of a sudden they're in the past or in the future. They're jumping a lot. Maybe that's the reason why they were kind of like, warm on this show. They were like, how is it? And like, maybe it didn't have the numbers. Also, HBO has been going through a lot of shit with the, how much money they've lost. And so they've been cutting stuff and changing things. And that's just been a big trend. We've talked about it multiple times in the show. So now it's affecting Game of Thrones. It has to be money. I mean, they want to say creative all the time. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a great narrative, but I'm guessing they're not going to be hour-and-a-half episodes. I'm guessing there's going to be probably that at that 52, 54 minute mark, and there's going to be 8, and that'll be it. Maybe the finale will be a little bit longer, but I think it's all cost cutting. They love doing it.
HBO, the answer is Spawn. More Spawn. just give us an amazingly done live action.
That'd be cool.
TV series. You just dump some money into that. I want that. Yes, Spawn.
Maybe.
Or an animated. I'll do another animated series. I'm here for Spawn. You have the money. You own the rights. Let's do some Spawn.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. But
that's the answer.
We'll see what happens with HBO, though. I'm not really sure, but there's more information as it goes. We haven't shot anything yet, so hopefully some good stuff comes out with this. We'll see. I don't know. I want to talk about another first, though. Here's a first. Netflix is ordering a pilot, not direct to series. They're just doing a pilot now, and which is weird for them, called Little Sky. So Little Sky starring Samara Weaving. Wow. But Little Sky is their very first one they're doing. They're going to see if it works. So they say they like it. It's a single camera comedy starring Sarah Weaving. She's executive producer on it too. And it's one of those things where they always just say, hey, we'll do 12 episodes with 10. We don't do this. So it might be a weird thing for Netflix. It might be a new path they're going down. Now they're saying it's not. They're saying it's a one-time thing. But like you're trying it one time. So it's like you're testing the waters to see like, does this work for us? It makes you wonder if Netflix is also trying to find ways to cut corners and to like see what works better so they're not spending all this money on a whole season pickup like they always do. But the premise for Little Sky is it centers around Penelope Paul Porter, who is determined to realize her lifelong dream of being a respected on-air news reporter, despite the fact that she is probably the worst one of all time. When she receives an anonymous tip that the mayor of a Little Sky is missing, she knows it's her chance to finally prove herself, and she goes to the spooky remote town of Little Sky, and she senses she's on to a big story. But little does she know that she stumbled upon something much darker than she could ever imagined. Little Sky, and apparently like this, it's a comedy. They like it apparently, but they're only doing an episode. Sean, what do you think? Do you think this is a good thing that Netflix is going down to like the pilot? Does this sound good to you, or do you think this is a slippery slope for them?
I think they're getting wiser. I think they're trying to figure this out, right? They haven't been in this original programming game as long as some of the other networks, and they're realizing, hey, we put out a lot of like top tier shows that we thought were going to be great, and it's been one and done for a ton of stuff. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
just look at the response to Resident Evil, right? Like that was supposed to be a huge thing, and it just completely blew up in their face after the fan reception. So to me, I think this is them wisening up and saying, listen, we can't just go whole hog on these things anymore. We're gonna have to play it safer because of the investments that are involved. And I don't know, with a name like Penelope Paul Porter, how can this not be a hit? I don't know.
Right? I mean, come on, it says it all right there. But you're right. I mean, they've wasted a lot of money over the years. Rest in peace.
They've wasted a lot of money.
Yeah. Like Resident Evil. I want that to be good. Rest in
Yeah.
peace, Lance Reddick. I really wanted it to be good, but it just really wasn't. But they haven't really had a big. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the movies. They're okay, but like nothing's really been hit home for me as Resident Evil movie like that, or they haven't done that franchise right yet. I don't think. Even like. I feel like they keep doing it dirty. What do you think, Lexi? Do you think this is something that Netflix is going to keep doing, though? Are they going to continue doing pilots, or do you think this is a one-time thing?
Did you guys ever see the YouTube original film, The Thinning?
The Thinning?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. No.
We covered it on our podcast. The Resident Evil TV series, it reminded me of that movie, The Thinning. Like the
Does
way
it have
that they...
anything to do with Thinner?
No.
Okay.
It's about like a school that like makes you take your SATs, and if you fail, they basically kill you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really stupid. But yeah, Netflix, they've invested a lot of money in really terrible properties. They were on such a good start when they first started out, like with just their animation division, like with BoJack Horseman, and like they were
I love
really
BoJack.
knocking that stuff out the park. And then like all of a sudden, like it just suddenly they were just producing trash, and like the quality of the animation that they were putting out too was really bad. And they started investing like tons and tons of money into anime. And like I don't know what they were doing with that one. That was a whole like different discussion there, just in that one there. So they've made a lot of like they started out really strong and then just made a ton of like failed steps along the way. And
They bought a lot of stuff too.
they bought a ton of stuff. They've I've been finding like recently the programming on there that's worth watching is anything that comes out of Korea. Like any of their Korean programming has been excellent. Their Japanese programming, if you find any of that stuff's been really good. But any of their North American programming has been junk. Like it's been all shit. Like I haven't found anything.
It's been a lot of reality too.
A lot of reality.
They've dipped their toe in. They threw their hat in with Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey and said, "Forget it. We can do this, and produce a ton of that." And reality competitions have been big for them too. The Mole, right?
Yeah, it's cheap too. Super cheap.
Yeah,
in comparison,
their documentaries are hit and miss. Their documentary stuff is like so hit and miss. Some of it is like excellent, and some of it's like some of the worst stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. Very biased, very all over the place. I love F1 Drive to Survive. Like I look forward to that show. So that's the one thing they have going for them for me that I actively watch and look forward to. So, and that's how I get my F1 information is I watch that show instead of just following the season. So, because they do a really good job of that, and they've gotten that was hard to get in at F1 and be able to shoot like that and do that. So that's a big thing for that show to exist the way it does. So kudos to them on that. But like, I mean, you got to wait so long for episodes of that season because you got to wait for the F1 season to finish, and they got to edit and all that kind of stuff. So it takes forever, and then I eat that up in the day. So it's like I wait like a whole year for like a day of television watching, essentially, kind of thing. So is it worth paying a monthly fee for Netflix? Like that's the real question. Like, is it worth investing in any of the platform when basically like there's only like really a day's worth of content to watch, or maybe like a couple of weeks worth of content worth watching at a time?
They just have a lot of substance, but not a lot of like that's meat and potatoes. It's like there's so much stuff. I find myself just trailing through, like I don't want to watch any of this. So I don't know. This might be a way. Maybe they'll start dropping pilots, and they'll be like, what do you guys like? They could do something like that.
I would love to see something like a pilot season come to Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Where, for the audience demographic or audience, kind of viewing rates and what the audience reception is to what goes to a full season. I think that'd be great, and I think Netflix has got, if they really want to court that kind of new filmmaker or something like that. I think that'd be a cool route to go. So, but yeah,
They
I
could
think this is just growing pains.
they could
Yeah.
definitely put some effort into showing some more trans inclusive content on their network as well, instead of continuing to invest in these comedians who continue to create trans exclusionary content and put that stuff out there, and then invest more and more into those same comedians putting out more and more of the same content, like Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais and those kinds of people who keep platforming that and then putting that out there. So I mean, yeah, Chris, don't get upset about it. It's only affecting people. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's
Yeah.
annoying to have to watch that and deal with
Chris.
that. Like to see some more content created that's aimed at us and created for us, instead of constantly platforming, people who are
They should
creating
just
hate.
be open to everything. They should have like more content for everybody. I mean, they are Netflix. They have all this money. They're spending so
Right.
much. It's like they should be able to cover everybody and not push people aside. It shouldn't be a thing. Like they made like a huge deal not too long. It was like last year. Maybe it was before COVID. COVID took away so much time. Where they were like, we're gonna pump out like, I think it was like 40 movies a year or some shit like that. And I'm like, if you're gonna do that, like you should be able to do a variety of everything. But I don't see the content being that great. But there's fun stuff here and there. But you're right, Lexi. There's a lot of shit that maybe they shouldn't greenlight. But that's like that South Park episode. Like you call Netflix. Netflix, you've been greenlit. So
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. I think they're really gonna get into the pilot stuff. I think they're just gonna try it maybe now. They say, oh, it's a one-time deal, but it's a money thing. They're trying to cut corners too because they've been doing really bad financially as well. So maybe this is just their way of like fixing that, rectifying it, and moving forward. Something else we want to talk about, money. I want to talk about the WWE and the UFC merging. That's right. Vince McMahon, the Grapefruits man, has merged with UFC with Dana White. So this came out today where they actually, WWE and UFC parent company Endeavor merged with an SEC filing. And so what's happening is 51% is going to be controlled by Endeavor and 49% will be controlled by the WWE. It's a new company valued at $21 billion. New public entity will be run by Ari Emanuel. And the new companies reflects $12.1 billion in enterprise value for UFC and $9.3 billion for WWE and $50 to $100 million annual cost synergies as a result of the all-stock merger. So they have a new board of directors, 11 members board of directors, 6 selected by UFC, 5 selected by WWE, which is going to be appointed at a later date. So this is a big one. I mean, we talked about this before about how, WWE was trying to sell. Vince McMahon came back, even though he had all these allegations and he was paying all these women. I mean, come on, he was fucking around with all the girls, and then he's paying them off, for years. And he paid the board of directors. We just talked about last week, like $17 million, paying them back for all this shit.
Garbage. He's such a garbage person.
but he had to be here to sell the company, which UFC, WWE kind of makes sense to me. Like you're already talking about like. A lot of people probably watch both as it is, so maybe it'll help branch out more people to WWE that haven't been there or UFC that were WWE fans. It's probably a win-win for both companies. So I saw this, I laughed. I'm like, okay, because then they said Saudi Arabia before they were going to sell to them. Like that made sense to me too, because they always go to Saudi Arabia. Vince is taking that money up and down the checkbook. He's like, give me that, and all the old wrestlers come back for it too. Got Undertaker out there. He's like 65 years old. Fighting Hulk Hogan. That didn't happen. But I'm just saying, when HBK came out of retirement, bald ass HBK is like trying to kick people in the chin again for like a $2 million paycheck. I don't know, but you see this, okay? I'm just like, all right, makes sense. Is it going to change anything though, or are the companies going to be the same? What do you think, Sean? Are they going to be the same, or is it going to change anything? Is it revolutionize the entertainment industry?
I think the two entities are still going to continue to be what they've been doing, which is a very specific sort of entertainment for a very specific sort of person. What I would love to see is some sort of evolution between the two groups, right? Where you actually have, the UFC and the WWE blending characters, blending properties in some way to make it a little bit more
crossover.
palatable. Yeah.
Crossover.
I think that's where it's going. And, I think that people that expect UFC to maintain and still be the UFC, I think that's going to still be their WWE. Has had a winning formula for decades. I don't see them changing fundamentally at this point. I think it just opens them up to a new generation of talent and a new fan base for sure.
Yeah. I like your idea though, merging it like that, like having I mean honestly that fits right into their narrative, WWE, like someone's coming through the crowd. Who is it? Who is it? It's the UFC champion. You know what I mean? That makes sense. Like why wouldn't they do that?
Is it one real and is it one fake?
It's totally. I mean, well, WWE is it's scripted. They get hurt, but it's not like UFC. You know what I mean? There's planned, and it's. If you ask my uncle, he'll be like, "Oh, it's all real," but I'll be like, "Not so much."
I agree with Rachel. She just said it makes UFC lose credibility as a sport, and I'm like,
"Oh yeah."
I kind of agree with that in a lot of ways. Like, WWE is like it's drama, it's acting. I know like they do real things. Like I have a friend who's a wrestler. Like I'm not unfamiliar with like what they do, but it's still like acting. Like there's someone who's like set to win. There's still like a whole thing. Like there's heroes and villains, like heels and like there's a whole
heels and faces. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thing with it. Like it's not like it's a thing. Like it's not UFC. UFC is like fighting. It's actual fighting. Like it's mixed martial arts styles going up against different mixed martial arts styles in an actual like fighting arena. Like there's blood on the floor in those fights.
Yeah.
If you watch early UFC, like some of those old Shamrock fights, like those are fucking nasty. Like, I mean, seriously, like UFC gets some downright fucking gnarly brutal sometimes. Like, I'm not a sports person, but I like some carnage. So like when shit gets down, like I watch it, and like I've seen some UFC fights, and I'm like, damn, like I've seen some of those fights where they kick that guy and the guy's leg like snapped right in the
you're like, what the shit?
I'm like, that shit. I'm like, I'm here for that. I'll watch that. So it's like when I think of wrestling, it's like when I think of one of those guys walking in against like that fucking one crazy Irish guy. I can't think of his name.
Sheamus?
Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor. I'm like, I don't know. McGregor will kill one of those wrestlers. I'm like, he's insane. I'm like, what's he gonna do to them?
Conor McGregor, like, Mankind, put him in a cage.
Oh well,
let's see what happens.
Mankind's a little different. I mean, that guy's crazy.
I'm like, throw me off. Have a nice day.
Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to like look at those two worlds and combine them together. And I always feel like the people of those two worlds don't necessarily come together either. Like, there's a very particular type of fan that comes from UFC that the wrestling type definitely don't like. There's definitely like, everybody likes to watch somebody get their ass beat. Like there's always that crossover, but like, I don't know, there's a particular type of person that takes getting their ass beat seriously, and then there's just like your old rednecks that just like to watch them ass beaten down and like whatever. And so it's like, I don't know, the good old boys don't necessarily, align with the UFC guys so much, where they take all that shit way too seriously. And
maybe they'll try making it more real, though, UFC. Maybe they'll kind of do some more. I don't know. Vince McMahon will still be involved with subs aspect until the man dies. So I think he's still going to hold on to what he wants. But you're right. They're very different. I don't
like him as a person. Like, I really genuinely hate him. But I genuinely am interested to know what, what's his face? The one that's got the podcast. God, why can't I think of his name?
You got to narrow it down.
One of the wrestlers or one of our...
No. The Joe Rogan. I want to know what Joe Rogan thinks of this.
Yeah, Joe Rogan probably...
Because he's
getting paid.
Because he's someone who's like opinion when it comes to something like this I'd actually listen to. I'm like,
let's phone him in. Joe, come on.
Yeah.
Joe
Rogan. Come on, Kruse Control.
He just pops in right now.
Like, I know
Let me tell you what I think about this.
People, but we got you. We just want to ask you a question about UFC. It's the one area we'll trust your opinion on.
I don't know though. Like, I could see them blurring together a little bit, but maybe they'll just be their own thing. But it's a pretty big move that WWE sold to them, and that they merged with them and making this huge company. It's massive now, like $1 billion company, and it's only going to see how they bleed together. Maybe they'll sell merchandise at each other's things, or maybe they'll have like one big. I don't know.
It feels like a monopoly.
It does kind of it does. Vince McMahon already had a monopoly on wrestling though. Like he really was dominating wrestling. There's other companies, but honestly, when it comes down to it, he's bought his competition over and over again.
Yeah, he popped them out from repeatedly.
Yeah. And so he'll just keep doing it. I mean, that's what he's kept doing. Now UFC probably has more money to buy whoever's out there now. You know what I mean? They might do that. They might merge with AEW and buy that shit out and like bring that in and then, you know, make a bigger wrestling company. You never know. Some changes might come. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see where it goes. And maybe they'll push Vince out more and more and more because the man, even though he brought a lot to the company and he made it what it is, he also is problematic, I think, for the image of the company nowadays. And well, like, just retire, man. Enjoy your days. You've done enough, you know, but he can't. He can't do it. Somebody else that can't retire is Samuel L. Jackson coming back, Nick Fury. That's right. He's coming back for a Secret Invasion. So the new trailer just came out today. So I want us to talk about it just briefly for a little bit here. And if you haven't seen it, go online on YouTube afterwards and watch it. You know, it's a trailer, so listen to us first. But so Secret Invasion trailer came out. And honestly, I think this is better than the first one. I think there is more action-packed. There's dire straits. It's really showing that it's a different gritty world from the MCU than we're normally used to. It's not so happy and light going. Like there's this invasion that's been happening, and Nick Fury's like, I'm the only man who can stop it. You know what I mean? And he's been gone for years. We thought he was around, but I mean that got revealed not too long ago that he's been impersonated for years in all these movies. Like you think it's him, like in the Spider-Man movies, everything. It's not him, you know, which is wild to me. And I saw this and I was just like, I'm getting on board with it. I'm getting on board. I'm still kind of like unsure what the show is about completely. I know it's an invasion, but I don't feel like they still have given us any kind of plot details besides Nick Fury's back and he's gonna kick some ass. And there's lots of people that are, you know, Skrulls that are out there.
What else do you need? I mean, come on.
Right.
It's true. What do you think, Lexi? You saw the trailer. Are you excited about this? Did this trailer make you more amped for it? Or did it make you say, I don't need this invasion in my life?
Well, you know that I don't like Marvel, and I don't care about Marvel all that much. But I fucking love Nick Fury.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a big fan of Samuel Jackson playing Nick Fury. Like, I don't know, I just like the older versions of Nick Fury a lot more. But yeah, absolutely, I'm here for this. I will watch a Nick Fury movie. I'm here for anything related to Nick Fury. I'm like, Nick Fury is honestly one of my favorite characters because he's just like this grizzled, way too old, like kind of, in the comics anyway, the way I always saw him was like kind of racist, bigoted, like not belonging in this world anymore. Like I was just like, yes, I love this character. He's my favorite. Like he's just should not be leading this troop of people, but like he's just such a badass, like normal person that he can lead a troop of like superheroes because he's just such an arrogant,
so
badass,
grizzled,
normal person. Yeah, it's like that's who can lead a normal group of people. It's just like this guy. It's like a normal human being who's just so badass at just being a badass. I'm like, I want to watch that guy. I'm here for that movie. So yeah.
I love the scar too. The scar looks really cool. The fact that he has his eye now.
It's like everything about Nick Fury is great. Like Nick Fury is one of my favorite parts of like Marvel as a whole. I like him. I like Punisher. I like those characters. Like they're the characters that I always gravitate to within Marvel.
Fucking kick some ass, and he's a human. That's it. He's kicking some ass, and he's a human. So he's like grounded in this like crazy superhero wacky world, but he still can be doing.
I never liked the like mutant, like the superpower people in Marvel. I always like the normal people. So it's weird.
Sean, what do you think? Are you excited about this? Did this make you be like, hell yeah?
Of course, I am super excited because. I got the damn omnibus of Secret
nice.
Invasion. That's how much I loved this storyline in the comic books. Very excited for it. I think, especially the way the trailer set it up, I got some Winter Soldier vibes, which is like one of my favorite MCU films. And I'm a big nerd. I love Marvel movies, and I'm excited to see where they take it and how they translate that storyline from the comic books, you know, into what we know from MCU, because as you mentioned, Brian, like the seeds for this have been planted over so many movies. I mean, we learned that he was a Skrull back in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I think it was
one of the other, or Far From Home.
I think it was Far From Home. Far From Home.
2019 or whatever. And God, that was 2019. Like it's amazing. Like there's just so many little plot holes that the shows get to kind of, you know, kind of wrap up for you and showcase what's going on behind the scenes between them. Like, I love it. I'm a big fan of this kind of content.
Is this a show? This isn't a
It's
movie?
it's
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
it's a
show,
show.
yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess I'm even more here for that. Yeah.
There you
All
go.
right.
Yeah.
I thought it was a
I
movie.
knew
I
we'd
was
get
like,
you.
it's a movie. All right. Cool. No, it's a show. All right.
Yeah,
even
yeah,
better.
Disney Plus, yeah, Disney
you go.
Plus, bring a little
Alright.
bit more gritty to Disney Plus. Yeah, and the thing is, like, the design for it, the scroll look, like, honestly, I think the CG looks great. The little bit they showed of the scrolls, I think it's kind of cool, the morphing. Honestly, like Sean was saying, the seeds have been planted for a long time, so you see it and it's building and they're finally dropping this, and they're going to some lore from the comic books, which is great, like pulling from that, doing that more and more. And Marvel is great about that, like honoring where it comes from, you know? DC goes in their own universe sometimes and like does their own thing and disrespects the comics, as opposed to Marvel still kind of stays true. So they do a lot of times. I mean, I think it might change now with James Gunn, but a lot of times they show in the comics. They're like, well, we got that name. That's about it.
Like, come on now.
They have some good stuff still, but I'm just saying, you know, it's like I'm not like a DC hater. Like I'm excited about a lot of their stuff, even though like they're, you know, this the last phase is kind of trickling out. You know, but then again, this phase of Marvel hasn't been the best, I wouldn't say either. I've enjoyed a lot of it, but it's not been groundbreaking. Granted, most of it's been Disney Plus stuff as opposed to actual theatrical releases, but like Thor, Love and Thunder, like it was all right, you know? I thought it'd be so much better than it was.
I stopped
yeah.
watching.
You know, like we talked about before, yeah, I mean, but with the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, Multiverse of Madness. Like that too. Like I wanted more. Like the Sam Raimi, I could feel his direction in it. I could feel like it really felt like an Evil Dead movie a lot of ways, especially the way like you could it felt like the Evil Dead was like chasing you at times. But overall though, I feel like it could have been a better story, you know? It doesn't matter how you shoot it. If the story's not what it should be, then it doesn't really matter.
I think it's just because Doctor Strange is just kind of lame. Like, it is what it is. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to like Doctor Strange, but like, because like everything about him's cast well and done well. The actor's good, all that. Like, but he's really like a really good secondary character. Like, you want him in a group because he's got really good grips and that kind of stuff. But like on his own as like a main character, I'm like, he's not an interesting main character.
What do you think, Sean? I saw you had something you wanted to say, huh?
No, I completely agree with you. I think DC is the lesson to take away is that they have characters and Marvel have the stories, right?
Yeah.
And you can tie, and Marvel movies have paired more better with the stories from the comic books than has DC has just kind of said, yes, we have the characters and we're going to create new universes and new worlds around them and new stories, which I think, you know, you're trying. In some way, you're never gonna, make everybody happy. But I think for at least my portion of it, I definitely think Marvel has done a better job adapting than DC has, especially in recent times here.
Yeah,
I've always felt that DC does a better job as far as like, because I'm a DC fan. I think they have a better balanced roster of characters. No, just they have a better balanced roster of characters. Like, there's like a bunch of magic people, like, whereas when you look at Marvel's universe, it's like there's Doctor Strange and about like one other person. Like, there's not a whole lot of like magic using people. There's like, I can list off like piles and piles and piles. So like when you go into like DC's universe, there's a ton of like contradicting characters for everything. So there's like always somebody you can use to go up against somebody. There's a bunch of like mech type characters. There's a bunch of magic using characters. There's a bunch of people like Superman who are aliens that are like, all those kinds of whatevers. So there's always a balance in that universe where there is always a bunch of this type of characters and a bunch of these types of characters and a bunch of these types of characters. And I always felt that Marvel's universe is incredibly unbalanced in how they've got their characters and their hero types and all that kind of stuff. Like when you get into X-Men disrupts the entire flow of everything in their universe. It just fucks everything up. It's like, what relevance is there to Spider-Man? What relevance is there to anything when mutants exist? Like mutants just disrupt all of the flow of all of the other heroes in that existence. And like, I don't even know like how magic even comes into play in that world in comparison to DC's world, where DC's magic rules I can completely like apply and understand anything. Like I can look at Superman and I'm like, Superman can be taken down by magic. So I can think of 3 different people that can take down Superman. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's like a weird discussion, but it's like when you're talking like just a straight up like superhero battle, I'm like I can have a better discussion with you about who's capable of handling this situation and this better. Whereas with Marvel, I'm like there are so many circumstances in the Marvel universe where I'm like there is only one person capable of handling this situation in this exact time. And there's no way to handle it other than this. And I'm like, I don't like how unbalanced Marvel's universe is. And I don't like that their rules are so out of whack when I look at DC's and there's such an open world and so much potential there, but that they're not utilizing it right when they're making films and television shows and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm like, you have an endless world of potential that you're like fucking up constantly. So it's there, it's all there, all the groundwork is there. I'm like, you have everything you need to make like a perfect what have you. It's just you're not making the soup right. So get your fucking stew right. Like,
well, speaking of Marvel though, I want to talk a little bit more about another Marvel character that says he's coming back, and that's Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. So he's coming out in an interview recently because he was in No Way Home. So after that interview, after that movie came out, he's been interviewed with Pilot Productions for. He was talking about Spider-Man 3. He was talking about No Way Home, and he said that Sandman is not done yet. Well, he said that him and John Watts had a conversation. Amy Pascal was there, Kevin Feige, and they said they had conversations that have been about the possibility of Sandman coming into a future iteration of it. And the conversation happened about him coming back, maybe picking up a more fulfilling story with Flint and being not just Sandman, but returning to human form, because there was a lot of story there they didn't get to touch upon. And there's a reason that he couldn't become the regular face Sandman during No Way Home, he was saying, and that's because there's more they're going to do later on with that. And I guess through his conversations, he was saying that, Feige and all them said they want him to be Sandman some more. Now, this is an actor saying something and, being like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this again without any official notification, anything like that. There's no official headline news, no statement from Marvel, but the fact they had this conversation with him makes me wonder if maybe they're going to be like, well, we want to use Sandman again, so we probably want to kid him because he's our Sandman. They had him in No Way Home. You're making him canon. So it makes me think that it's just one of those things. For me personally, I just think they told him this because they're like, if we have Sandman again, we're going to have you, But like, will we actually have more Sandman? I don't know. Sean, what do you think? Do you think this is something they're legit thinking about and planning on? Do you think they have an idea, a storyline? Or do you think this is just like shit hitting a wall and they're like, hey, just in case, we need you?
I want to make a bold claim here, and I want this to be shown and shoved in my face when I'm wrong. But I think there's a better chance that Wings has a comeback than we see Sandman in an MCU property at this point. God bless him. I mean, they didn't even have him in the movie. It was all done CG.
I know.
And they even used footage from Spider-Man 3.
It's true.
I mean, just such a weird thing, to think, oh man, yeah, Sandman. Hey, if Bad Bunny can be El Diablo, I guess Sandman can also have his own movie. I don't know. It's hard to say. More power to him. I don't think Sideways 2 is coming out anytime soon either. But Thomas Hayden Church, if he's got to start the rumor mill going, this is a good way to do it.
It's true. Maybe he just wants to get hired. Rachel's saying in the chat we're a house divided tonight. We might be a little house divided, and she's Team Marvel. But I think, maybe it's just a way of him stirring the water. I mean, putting it out there. Because honestly, what kind of plans would they have for Sandman? I like the Wings thing. I mean, I could see a Wing. You know what, Sean? You're putting it out there. A Wings reboot's probably coming out.
Yeah, be careful. That's going to happen now.
We'll be talking about it on Wednesday or something. Yeah, it'll be happening.
They brought back
Wings.
Night Court. They brought back Night Court.
It's
Who
true.
would think
It's
they'd
true.
bring back Night Court? I didn't think that show would ever come back.
Lexi, what do you think? You think that there's a better chance for Wings than for him to be Sandman, or what?
At this point, I do. He put it out in the air. Now it's all going to happen. I thought he was an excellent casting for Sandman. He looks just like the character, especially when you look at the old comics, like the old school, 80s and 70s Spider-Man comics. He looks just like the character. But I don't know. If he wants to come back, he can come back, I guess. I didn't know it was CG in the movie, so that was news to me.
Isn't that wild?
all legitimate to me when you initially like showed me the story. I was like, all right, I guess. But then like with what you just said, Sean just said, I'm like, okay, well, I guess not. um,
Yeah, I know. Honestly, yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that too, Sean. It's like, how do you? I mean, I don't know. I liked him as Sandman. I did. And the CG thing, Lexi, was crazy. Like they use like literally that. There's that one moment. If you haven't seen No Way Out Home out there,
I
sorry
did
about
see
this
it.
spoiler. Okay, but for people that haven't seen it, spoiler alert. At the very end, when they're all switching back, it's like that was that one shot they didn't use from Spider-Man 3 was when they saw his face was the one they actually went to the archive footage and pulled that and didn't have him come in. They just had him do voiceover for the whole thing. But he was telling. I'm wondering though, because he said like in there it was a reason why you didn't really see him, and I'm like, is that something they told him because they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna bring it back. Use his voiceover right now, man. It's good. We'll bring it for something else, or or is there any? I don't know if there's any truth to it. I really don't know. It's like, what's he gonna be in Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland? I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening.
We could be wrong. We could be eating a bunch of humble pie later. Who knows?
We could be.
Of everyone I would want to come back, Sandman is not top of the list.
Willem Dafoe, and he said he'd do that shit in a heartbeat too, as long as he can do his stunts again. And
Let
I'm
him
like,
be a Joker. Let him be Green Goblin. Come on.
Yeah. He said in an interview recently, though, because, during No Way Home, the only reason he did it was because he had a substantial part and he could do his own stunts. That's what he told him. That's the only way I'll do it, which is a badass for that man, And so he said the same thing again. He's like, I'll come back to them and do that again all day. I love that character. That's the guy who needs to come back. Flying and shit, throwing those bombs. Come on. That's a good villain. Great villain,
He's too old for that shit.
It worked though. That fight with Tom Holland in that apartment building was awesome. He power bombs him through the floor. I was all about that. He is old, but you never know.
He's a badass. I'm not mad at him. I'm just he's just too old for that shit. Come on.
Speaking of another badass, I want to talk about Ed Harris, and he's old too. Old badass. So Ed Harris. Badass. He's a super badass. He just signed on for Wonder Man. That's the thing. He's going to be doing DC's Wonder Man, which I have never heard of. Wonder Man? What?
Marvel.
Oh, that's Marvel? I thought it was DC.
Wonder Man is a Marvel.
See, it shows you how much I know about Wonder Man, but he's signed on. He's coming in. It makes sense now you say that, actually, because Ben Kingsley is in there. That makes sense. I don't know why I said DC. Ben Kingsley's back from Marvel, or from, he's playing the same character from Iron Man 3. And also, it's like which I love that character. Trevor. I'm Trevor. Yeah. I'm an actor, Yeah, so he's great. Wonder Man apparently was introduced in 1964. Well, I don't know. I don't know why I said DC, because all this is Marvel.
Jack Kirby.
It's been one of those days. So, but yeah, and he's coming in. So this was apparently Wonder Man was a villain at first, and he was going for the Avengers, and then he switched gears and he became a hero, and he joined the Avengers. And he has kind of the same kind of superpowers as most Marvel characters and superheroes, super strength, invincibility. He's he had a company apparently, and his family's company was going out of business. And then he ended up going and doing some experiments. He went to jail. I don't really know much about him, but I was reading a little bit about him. But Ed Harris coming to play this FBI agent. So, which makes sense for me. He's great. I could see him being an FBI agent who's apparently eventually becomes a movie star too, which is an interesting twist on that. And he has a lot of stuff that deals with Iron Man too. Apparently he hates Iron Man because of all this, because of what happens with his family and the experiments. So my question is, so Sean, do you know Wonder Man? Have you heard of him before? Are you excited about this movie coming out? Or are you like, why are we doing Wonder Man?
I mean, you ask the Marvel guy if he's excited for more Marvel. Of course I'm excited for it. I think I don't know personally a lot about the character. I think, quite frankly, he's a little bit boring. He's been paired with the Beast. He's been paired with a lot of other more interesting characters. But I think what's really interesting, especially what we saw with WandaVision, is that kind of that turning out of its head of the expected tropes of, what is to be expected of these characters' backgrounds. I mean, Wonder Man is an actor, right? He's got this whole background of that and being this superpowered hero at the same time. So it'll be interesting. Maybe this is a little bit of a play on Hollywood too. I really don't know much else about the show. I'm excited that Ed Harris is part of it because I think he's been fantastic in what he's been in recently, and
he's
why not
awesome.
Keep him working. Yeah. So yes, more Marvel. I'm here for it as long as it fits into what else Kevin Feige's got planned.
Yeah.
All day.
It's a Disney Plus show too. It's a Disney Plus show. Again, they're really pushing that. Ed Harris is an awesome guy. I worked with him on Westworld, and I remember we were working one scene, and I was just sitting next to a rock, and he just sat down, and he lit a cigarette, and he goes, "Tell me about yourself, kid." And he just started smoking his cigarette. And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You don't just do this. What else do you do when you're not here? Tell me about your life. I got this cigarette. Let's go." And I just had like a 15-minute conversation just shooting the shit with Ed Harris. It was the best thing ever. And then he was like, "I gotta," yeah. And then he's like, I gotta have another one. I'm gonna walk away for a second. And he walked away. And I was like, did that just happen? Great human being. He's awesome. So I'm always excited to see anything he does because he's just like super supportive, friendly, a caring guy. I only saw him lose his shit one time on Westworld, and that's because he was falling off this horse. He was being drugged by a horse with like a noose around his neck for like 14 hours. And after like, he just lost his shit after a while. That happens, but he was great human being. Lexi, do you know about Wonder Man? Are you excited about this? Is this a character you're like, yes, let's bring him on?
You know my love of Wonder Man. Wonder Man fan. No, I know it's a Jack Kirby character, like I said. Other than that, I'm not super familiar. He's old school. I'm not a Marvel person, like I said. This is more in Sean's wheelhouse.
This is Sean's world right here.
So hey, it's okay. It's okay. There's room. Come on over.
If you're not familiar, then I'm not familiar. So, like, I mean, that should say something about like who the fan base this is for, because I don't know who the fuck it's for. But as you said, I'm a huge Ed Harris fan. Always.
They're reaching in. They're reaching in deeper and deeper, and they're pulling out more stories because they have all this opportunity to expand because they have Disney Plus, and they can actually do stories they weren't able to do in movies and give them fulfilling things and then bring them into the movies eventually. I think that's the idea. It's like establishing characters for new Avengers,
I like to think that this is what happened to Ed Harris after he found whatever he was looking for in Westworld.
That would be awesome.
And this is like where we are now. This is what happened to him. So.
Westworld.
Including the last season or not including the last season?
I don't know. I wasn't allowed to watch the last season because I didn't get there for the 5 minutes it was on HBO before they yanked it.
Yeah, that's right. They yanked it. I think it's going to be on Tubi now. I think that's where it's going now.
I think pissed about that. Like, they aired that season, and like as soon as it finished airing, they yanked it. And I was like, dude, that's not okay. Like, I was waiting for you to finish airing it so I could just watch it in one go, and then you pulled it. So I didn't get to watch it, like, the final season. That sucks. Did it have Aaron Paul in it, the final season?
Yeah, Aaron Paul was back, yeah.
Oh, that season 3 was fucking vile. Like, just unwatchable, quite frankly. So I can't imagine season 4 being any better, but... They
were kind of building to go back to the park for season 5, and I remember I worked on season 1 and 2. I remember season 1 they said they had a five season arc. That's what the idea was. So it kind of disappoints me that back then they said that HBO, never was announced publicly, but back then on set they said they were greenlit for 5 seasons. And so I think with the changing of guard, how expensive again that show was, they were spending, I remember how much, like thousands and thousands of dollars on naked people all the time. You know what I mean? Those people are making about $1,200 a day, just to walk around butt ass naked. I was there. One of my first day there, the glass rooms in Westworld, like where they work on people would walk into those every fucking day. Like you hear dong, and they're like, oh, someone hit the glass wall. So one person ran to the glass wall, busted their nose one day, my very first day. So they threw me in to be a scientist. And I was like, what am I doing? And then all of a sudden, they're like, you're going to be fine. I didn't really know what the hell was going on. All of a sudden, Brian's all these naked people. I'm like, I guess I'm in a locker room today. And they were all raving about making their rent that day because they made so much money.
That's insane.
So much money.
Funny.
Yeah.
Season 1, amazing. Season 2, terrible. Season 3, unwatchable. I don't know how that show just like
season 4 was better.
So hard. I just don't know like what happened because like I'm a huge Westworld fan. Like I love the movie, I love the original story, and like I really wanted that to be so much. And like you said, the effects were incredible. Everything was incredible in season 1. Like I don't know what the fuck happened. Should have stayed in the park. Should have stayed in the fucking park.
They should have stayed in the park. And also they had the whole issue with they were doing scheduling issues. There was a lot of scheduling issues in there. So they would have like 3 units going at the same time for season 2. And it was like they were all over the place. So I think that they were changing stuff constantly, trying to get it right. So then I don't know what happened in season 3. I didn't work on it because James Marsden wasn't there, and I doubled for James Marsden. So once he was gone, and he came back briefly at the end, but I was on other projects. But I agree. It just kind of, they had an idea, but I don't know, something happened, and unfortunately, I'll never get to see the ending. That's what sucks about it, too, because there's supposed to be one more season.
Yeah.
Disappointing. But you know what? We gotta move on. We gotta talk about something that Lexi wants to talk about. We gotta talk about some DC stuff. So now it's time for our featured story of the night. Even though it's a very obscure character that's coming to the screen again, but I want to talk about the Blue Beetle trailer that just came out. So Blue Beetle is launching soon, and they've got the very first trailer. We haven't seen anything about this, really. I mean, there have been some stills from set, and, you know, it's like little things. I know that it was supposed to be an HBO Max movie, and they liked it so much, they changed it to a theatrical edition now, so it wasn't ever supposed to be in theaters, but it's done so well. Different from Batgirl, where Batgirl, like, just never got to see the light of day now because there's, like, it's like a CW movie. We don't want that, which sucks for them. But I was actually pretty excited about this movie. I thought the special effects looked great. I don't really know much about the character, but I thought he looked badass. He's kind of like an Iron Man in his own right, but he's like a kid too, and it's a kid from Karate Kid, and he's kicking ass, and you know, which made sense to me. The fact that he can form like swords and shit out of nothing, that was awesome. The scene where he transforms alone, I thought that was fucking epic. And the way they showed the whole thing, of course they had to show the whole thing because they knew how epic it was, and the fact that it's just like, you know, it's grounded in this kid's world. But I gotta say, one thing I was like, what? Why does he have like a bat cave all of a sudden? And he has like, you know, and he has like his own Beetleborg type flying machine out of nowhere. I'm like, is this? It felt like Big Bad Beetleborgs to me sometimes, a little bit. And I was just like, how does he get that? Because they're like, oh, you got the scarab in this like little, you know, burger box, and that's all you have. And you're running from people, but then now you have. I feel like maybe they just gave too much away in the trailer because a lot happens in this movie, apparently. Apparently, he forms a whole team in this. All of his family gets involved. They're flying around. He doesn't even need a Beetleborg flying shit, but it still looks good. But I'm just like, he doesn't need that shit. He already flies. The moment he put this suit on, he went to fucking outer space. And you know what I mean? But I'm like, cool, I guess. Whatever, DC, let's do this. You know, I'm down. Lexi, being a DC fan, are you excited about this trailer perk your interest? Or are you like, why the hell are we doing this character?
It looks excellent. I think it's a really good character to go with. He's a Hispanic character,
which is great.
Awesome. It's good to get some representation out there. He's a wonderful Hispanic character, so you know, it's once again good representation. So the casting is excellent. They went with that kid from Cobra Kai. He's a really good actor. I like him. I think he's going to do fantastic in this role. I think it's a perfect role for him. He's good at like doing that, like, oh, what is this new thing that's happening kind of thing, and like being like, you know, kind of like confused by it but able to adapt to it kind of thing, and like does a good job of doing that. So he's really good at like that kind of role. I've seen him do it in Cobra Kai. He's doing it here.
He's great in Cobra Kai.
So and like, did you like that they used the Cobra Kai font for the Blue Beetle font?
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, totally.
Good
100%.
pickup, Lexi.
Yeah,
that's a great pickup.
Like, oh, I see you. They borrowed your font for your other TV show. Good job.
Just tying that in.
There's you know, I think like that's the one thing that I keep going back to is I'm like, I think this film's got just amazing representation, good casting, good all that kind of stuff, which it's not trying to force anything, and I think that's really important to like realize in that is that it's not, you know, set in a time period or any kind of that. It's a modern day story, you know, done with like proper ethnic kind of characters without trying to be stereotypic or any of that kind of stuff. I think it's like doing it really well, and I'm really excited for that. They did take away the fact that Blue Beetle is a symbiotic creature. He's not tech. He is like bonds to the kid, and the kid's kind of stuck with him, and so they're forced to work together. And so there is a consistent like love-hate relationship between the beetle and the child. So they have to like fight with each other a lot, and I don't know how that dynamic's going to work.
Is it kind of like Moon Knight then, in a way?
No, it's a little different than like I was saying. Like he's kind of not really like any character that's out there. It's more like a bunch of character traits that you're familiar with, all kind of stuck together, that inadvertently creates its own original character. Like, it's nothing you haven't seen before, but it's also not based on anything you've seen before, so inadvertently it just kind of is its own thing. But he's also a Teen Titan, and if you're familiar with any of the more modern Teen Titans, they make him join the Teen Titans so that he can learn how to work with his powers, because his powers are really hard to control. So he has to figure this shit out, and it's one of the most difficult powers to adapt to because it's a symbiotic creature that doesn't want to work with you. So it's an interesting take. The costume design, spot on, flawless. Like they
It
got
looks
that
great.
costume like down packed. Like everything is down exactly where it needs to be. The costume change thing was done really well. So all the effects look really great. The casting is great. I am extremely excited for this. I think they've done this like perfectly, and it's going to fail.
You think it's gonna fail? You think it's gonna
Yeah.
fail?
Yeah, they did it perfectly. Anytime they do it right, it fails. Like I don't know why. I don't have an answer for you because here's the thing: it's not a familiar character.
Yeah.
It's been done. It's been done flawlessly and to the point. Everything about it is right where it needs to be. It's not going to do well. What do you want from me? Like, do you really think it's going to succeed? It's DC. It's not like all the pieces are there. Like,
They're all there.
I've had these conversations before. Like, I watch this shit all the time, and I'm like, how come this one succeeds, but this one doesn't? All the pieces are there, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't think of a good example of it, but it's like, why did this superhero movie fail, but this superhero movie succeed when they're literally the same fucking thing? And I'm like, I enjoyed this one, and I didn't enjoy this one. And I'm like, but this one succeeded, but I didn't enjoy this one because I felt like it was more of the same, whereas this one felt fresh and original and new to me. And you didn't like this one because what? It was just fresh and original and new, or like what? Like you just want more Batman? Like you don't want Blue Beetle? You know what I'm saying? Like
They make
Batman
jokes about
does
Batman
well.
in it, too.
Batman, like you'll watch more Batman, you'll watch more Superman, you'll watch more of the same shit over and over and over. Like you'll watch the same Iron Man again, Iron Man over and over and over. But it's like when I give you the same when I give you the new hero, the new hotness, the new different kind of
you don't want it.
new, but it's the same shit. Like the same. It's a guy in a robot costume doing kind of like the same kind of shit, going around, flying around, blowing shit up, and it's all fresh and original and interesting. Like people don't give a shit about it, and it's like I don't know what people want anymore. Like I don't know how to figure out like any of the system of how things function or flow and the ebb and flow of what is going to succeed and what isn't, because it's like IP, like young people don't want any of this shit. This stuff's all for us. It totally is. All these movies are for millennials and boomers, so it's like because
giving us a taste of their childhood.
Well, because we're the nostalgia generation, so we're the only ones that are investing in any of this kind of stuff. Gen Z doesn't watch movies. If you spend time with Gen Z and really talk to them and really get to know them, they don't watch movies. They don't care about this stuff. They are on TikTok. They're on YouTube. They're engaging with media in a completely different way than we're engaging with media. So they're not watching superhero shit and Marvel movies, and they're not watching television at all.
They should be. They should be. They're part of the problem.
They
not
would
friends
be.
of the show.
They would be if the studios were marketing it towards them. They're not marketing any of this for it. They're marketing it for us.
Or if it was treading any new ground too.
Right.
Like,
so
like I'm glad you brought up Iron Man because I got such a big Iron Man vibe from the trailer, right?
100%.
Even him talking to the Scarab itself was very much Tony talking to the AI. And it was just like, even, there was a little heads-up display in there. Like, we've seen this stuff before, and they weren't doing anything new to kind of, like, really, like what you said, like, focus on what makes this character unique and an individual.
Which it's a symbiotic alien. Why didn't you focus on it being a symbiotic alien?
Exactly.
Why didn't you focus on that relationship that he has with the alien and how he tries to bond with it? Because he can't make the suit work until he can learn to work with it. He can't control it. It's not about controlling it. He doesn't control it. He has to have it like him and make him, that's a good film. That's a good film right there. Learning to work with something.
Yeah.
Learning to work together. It's about learning to work together with somebody to be able to accomplish a goal instead of learning to figure out how to make your tech work for you. That's not really that's super interesting. Like that's what this movie is going to be, making the tech work for you, right?
Yeah. Well, here's my question though. I want to ask Sean this. Sean, do you think that it's going to fail? You think Lexi's right that it's not going to do well? Because it is. Lexi's right a lot of ways. It's like not your typical hero. It's not Iron Man. It's not Captain America. It's not for them Batman or Superman. So it's like, will people go out to see this? Or will it just be a flash in the pan? Like they were going to do it HBO Max initially, but they believe in it enough to put it in theaters. So are they making are they messing up by doing this?
I think if they learned any lessons from Shazam 2's failure,
Shazam!
this movie cannot fail.
Can't.
I don't think it can. I think like hopefully they've learned their lessons with what made Shazam 2 a failure. They've addressed those issues. Hopefully they're doing more on the marketing front and targeting this movie to get it to the generations or the people that need to see this movie. I don't think it can. I really want it. I want to see it do well. I care for the character. Just because I'm a Marvel guy doesn't mean I don't
do
like
too.
the DC people.
I really want it to succeed
I want
as
to
well.
see it succeed. I don't want it to fail, and I'm hoping that DC, especially when you consider the new slate of everything coming down the pipe with Gods and Monsters and James Gunn's whole thing, like I just let them do something right for once.
Yes, please.
And I really
I want it to succeed because I want this kid to keep playing Beetles.
Yeah.
Because
I think he's perfect casting.
Absolutely perfect casting for that role. I don't want to see them switch him out. So it's like there's a lot of people that right now who have been cast very well in DC who I don't want to see get switched out for some of these roles. So it's like if we can try to maintain some of these actors in some of these roles, it would be really nice to see this kid maintain this. I haven't even seen him like in the film itself yet, but just from the trailer I can already tell you perfect casting, because I'm familiar with Teen Titans well enough to know this character, that this is like perfect, like spot on. I was like, yes.
And I finally saw Shazam over the weekend. I went and saw it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. There is weird unicorn section where they're riding like black evil unicorns, which was like, I'm like, I don't know why we're doing this, but the unicorns were evil, but they were also the good evil unicorns. It was really weird. And honestly, I think the biggest disconnect with that movie for me is like the way Zachary Levi plays it compared to how the kid plays it. Like the kid plays him very serious. Like he's a very adult 17, 18-year-old, right? And then Zachary is like this big kid, like bumbling and stuff. So I feel like the direction was kind of wrong there. However, the guy who directed it should have had them be the same, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't really make sense for him to regress when he gets older. You know, if anything, he should become more mature. It just seems weird to me. But he did that in the first one anyways, and that balance just seemed even more off this time to me. But overall, I didn't think it was that bad of a movie. I really didn't. But, you know, the fact is people didn't want to see it, you know? It just and he said some shit before it came out. So that's also like that stops it, you know?
He didn't do himself any favors.
Shot himself in the foot. I don't know if he'll be back. I really don't know if he'll be back. Who knows? Again, he's one of those people that'll probably just be gone now, you know? He thought he was good and he was golden. He would stay, but probably not.
Which is
Shazam.
First Shazam was excellent.
It was great. Yeah. And it
that
had
was
a lot
that was the best DC movie, hands down, that I had seen. Like hands down.
AP Productions is saying this sounds like Venom, Blue Beetle. I guess there is this inner struggle too. It's the same kind of deal, your inner voice, except Venom's a symbiote, as they say on the movies, and says it's symbiote. But you know, that's each their own how you pronounce it. But yeah, I still like the Venom movies. I think they're fun.
Oh,
I just say that. I think they're fun. That guilty pleasure right there.
Those
Hey, we're Tron friends. We're Tron friends.
It's fair. We have Tron United.
Sean, do you like
Always have
Tron?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you
heck
like
yeah. How
Okay.
can you like Tron?
There we go.
Who's got a bad thing to say about Tron?
Almost everybody.
Oh no.
Sabrina for sure. Almost everybody that's been on here hates Tron, except us two. And so like we're holding on for the Tron friends. But you know. But Blue Beetle is coming out. I'm excited about it. I think we all think it looks good, but the thing is,
I'm excited.
Will it do well? That's the end of the day, will it do well? Only time will tell. It's coming out this summer. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be good. I'm hoping. It looks great. Anyways, we've gone a little bit over, so thank you all for being here tonight. Sean, thank you as always. Welcome back again. Hope to have you back again soon. Hopefully have a great rest of your day, night and your week.
Thank you.
Lexi, thank you again for coming back. As always, appreciate having you here. It's always fun conversing about the topics.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I always drag your show out, so, you know.
You're good. We have a good time. We just keep chatting. It's fun. Everybody out there, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Join our Patreon if you can. Have a great night. And we'll see you again soon. All right. Take care. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.